We're going to end our last unit looking at three different types of short stories that were influenced by events that took place after the Civil War. So the first short story we're going to look at, it was written by Mark Twain, and it's called The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County. Now, Mark Twain, you may know him as the writer of Huckleberry Finn and The Adventures of Tom Sawyer. He was a writer who was very plain. Um, he was a humorous writer, and typically people really enjoy reading him because of his writing style and how funny he really is. But before we get into looking at Mark Twain's writing style, there are two different types of ideas we need to make sure we understand. And that first idea is realism. And realism literature, if you think about it, if something is real, that means you see it as it really is. If you have those TV shows that, uh, film people like Survivor or, I don't know, The Bachelor or The Bachelorette, that's realism in popular culture because essentially it's showing people and talking about people and having people interact with each other, and nothing's really scripted. It's just, it is what it is. So the thought and idea of realism in literature is that it's real. It shows people in real life. It shows them how they really are. And the other uh, thought concerning literature is called regionalism. And if you look at that word, it has the word region in it. And one way you can remember what regionalism is that it is focused on a specific region. And it will use the dialect, customs, traditions, the history, the geography of that region. So, for example, we live in Western North Carolina, and so if you read any short stories or children's books that are focused on this region, usually you have the dialect of the region. It's the way people talk. It talks about customs that are in this region or have been in this region. So regionalism just talks is just literature that focuses on a specific place, and the customs, the dialect, the traditions, and the people of that region are all included within those types of stories. Now, Mark Twain was more of a regionalist writer. He grew up along the Mississippi River, so many of his stories have to do with that area along the Mississippi River. The celebrated jumping frog of Calaveras County, however, has to deal more with out west, which is why some of you did some background research on westward expansion. And Mark Twain is also known as a local color writer. This goes hand in hand with regionalism. So, local color is just literature, which can be fiction or poetry, that focuses on characters, dialect, customs, topography, and other features particular to a specific region. And local color writers, which is what Mark Twain was, he uses dialect to establish the credibility and authenticity of regional characters. It may seem strange if you were reading a short story about a character who lives in, the Bronx or Manhattan, and they don't have that sort of twang to their speaking that people from the Bronx and Manhattan have. So local color writers use this dialect to make their characters more real. They also use very detailed descriptions of the region. And I've written it's especially of small, seemingly insignificant details, essential to an understanding of the region. So, a writer from a local color writer of Western North Carolina may not focus on all the mountains, because everyone sees those. Everyone knows we're in the Appalachian mountain chain. But he or she may focus on some small community that has some real significance in western North Carolina. So local color writers like to really focus on those small details that help us to really see the region as it is. And usually local color writers use the idea of a frame story, which we will get to in just a minute, and that is what Mark Twain does. Essentially, a frame story is just a story within a story, which I've given you two examples here of two movies that are frame stories. Hopefully you've seen at least one of them. You have The Notebook and Titanic. So in The Notebook, it starts out with Noah reading the actual notebook to Allie, and that is kind of the overall story. Is old Noah, old Allie, him reading this notebook to her, trying to bring her back from her Alzheimer's. But the secondary story is of how they met, how they got married, and the life they kind of led. So that's what a frame story is. You have a story within a story. And like Titanic, if you've not seen that, you have Rose, who is the one of the oldest survivors from the sinking of the Titanic, comes aboard the ship that has uncovered relics from the sunken vessel, and she tells the story of how she got on the Titanic and how she met Jack Dawson and how they fell in love. So with the celebrated jumping frog of Calaveras County, it is a frame story because you have an outsider who comes to Calaveras County and he is told the story of this frog. Um, so that's why that's a frame story. One thing that Mark Twain is really popular for is his use of satire. This is a good word for you to know, and all satire is just making fun of something that people um, find that's popular at the time, I guess you could say. So I've given you an example here. It says swine flu, bacon's revenge. Okay, back several years ago, swine flu was a big deal. Um, and everyone was, oh, you've got to wear this mask, you've got to do this, you've got to do that to prevent getting swine flu. Well, now, several years later, people are making fun of that whole situation, which you can see by it saying it's bacon's revenge because pigs are called swine. So essentially, satire is just the use of humor to uh, expose people's stupidity. And the last thing that Mark Twain is known for, and this is something you really need to know, you need to know colloquial language, is informal speech people use every day. Essentially, colloquial language is just slang. You all speak colloquially each day with your friends. You use slang words. However, it's a good idea to not use this type of language with your teachers or with the principal or the CEO, right? You want to use more proper formal language. And Mark Twain used colloquial language in his writing to really make the story authentic. Like I said, with local color and with regionalism, they focus on a certain region. And so to make the story more authentic, to make it sound like these people really are from this area, it really did take place here, Mark Twain and other regionalist and local color writers want to use that language that is of the people. So we are going to read Mark Twain's short story, The Celebrated Jumping Frog of Calaveras County, and we are going to discover how he uses local color and satire and how this frame story adds to our understanding of it.